World War II ended when Hitler offed himself in his Berlin bunker. It had become apparent that he'd lost the war and his fate would be worse than death. Now, before the winners started plundering the country's resources, Germany was separated into four occupation zones. The British got the northwest, the French got the southwest, the Americans got the southeast, and the Soviets occupied the northeast, which included the capital city, Berlin. Berlin itself was also subdivided, the Soviets and the Americans each policing a different zone of the capital. Over the next 16 years, each side worked tirelessly to progress their ideology in Germany, creating tension in the city. On the night of August 12th into 13th, 1961, East German soldiers in Berlin laid out miles of barbed wire that would become the Berlin Wall, sealing the border with West Germany for the next 28 years. It was the first major conflict of the Cold War. The people never wanted that wall. They were victims of circumstance and, like all of us, products of their environment. I didn't know any of these finer details back then, but the Berlin Wall intrigued young me. A wall separating people who looked alike and spoke the same language? I remember reading that from space, the lights from East Germany were noticeably less bright because the light bulbs were of lesser quality. East Germans had a lower life expectancy than West Germans. East Germans were not allowed to leave because there were fears that they wouldn't return. It was the same for us in apartheid South Africa. Our movements managed by military checkpoints, cut off from the world, militarily governed. Your government is your enemy. You're afraid of them. You live and die by their whim. That shit fucks you up. To be honest, as young as I was, I had a semblance of comfort, knowing that there were others on the planet going through similar experiences. I remember the term defector being used, and border soldiers shooting people who tried to flee. The Berlin Wall stood until November 9th, 1989, when the head of the East German Communist Party announced that citizens of East Germany could cross the border whenever they pleased. That night, crowds swarmed the wall, crossing freely into West Berlin. Others began to chip away at the wall itself. For me, that flipped my world on its head. Change was possible. Fast forward a couple of months. It was January 1990, and I'm in my first year of high school, and the world is different. Well, technically it's the same, but I'm different. It was my first year in high school, grade 8. We called it Standard 6 at Chatsworth High. Puberty is starting to work its way through me, but it's gonna take a long few years before it's done. High school is different, bigger, more students. Some of them look like fully grown adults. It all felt more serious somehow. I felt small and insignificant compared to just a few months ago. I kept my head down for the first few weeks, getting the lay of the land. Even back then, I understood social hierarchy. One day, an older kid comes into our class and explains the concept of a student representative council. She explained that there were different roles in the SRC, and each role was decided by an actual democratic election process, with the whole student body voting. She listed the roles and who the candidates were. This is South Africa in 1990. We're a politically charged generation. SRCs were a progressive idea under regime control. Instinctively, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. Just entered high school, and with absolutely no knowledge of the responsibilities assigned to the role, I asked to have my name listed for the role of SRC president. I've been accused of wanting to stand out, to be different, to make my mark. It's true. One way or another, these motherfuckers are gonna know who I am. Let me be clear. I had no intention of actually serving as the president of the SRC. I had just found out what it was. The role was bigger than I could even understand at the time. I just wanted the notoriety that comes with that level of insolence. There was only one other person running for the position. He was the current SRC president and already a hardened activist. My parents were not happy. It was the height of the ANC ban. The Twos was an activism hotspot. 2 years earlier, a 24-year-old named Lenny, also from the district, had been ambushed and killed by government agents. I met his mom a few times. She had the look reserved for those mothers who lost their children to the struggle. The role was even bigger than I thought, but I knew I wasn't going to win. No one could beat the obvious choice for the position. Election day rolled around, and not surprisingly, I lost. It was a landslide, but I got exactly what I wanted. All the girls now knew my name. I hadn't taken one factor into account, though. The runner-up in the election would automatically become the SRC vice president. And because no one else was silly enough to throw their name in the hat, I was sworn in as newly elected VP. Thus began my tenure as an activist. I spent the next 5 years attending political protests, regularly skipping school, and lying to my parents. I live by a personal philosophy of where you feed will grow. I follow it in all aspects of my life because I've seen the impact of generational trauma firsthand. Do you have any idea what grows in an environment of such abject inequality? I do.